Okay, let's see whether this works. If you're just coming on, we're trying to figure out how to bring a guest on. And as I mentioned, we're going to see everything behind the scenes, including how we sometimes don't know how technology works, and we have to figure these things out. And so the beauty of this is, and the lesson in this is, like, often we will not do things because we're scared that we're going to look silly or that it's not going to be perfect. So I'm showing you the imperfectness of things here, in that sometimes you just don't know and you still are just going to do it. So let's see whether Nicole can come on. Nicole, I sent you a request, so there should be like a little thing that popped up that you have to accept, but it's not bringing me on live. Okay, so add. Okay, so Nicole, I just added you, so you should now come on. Adding, it says it's adding you. Guys, we may just have done this. I'm getting like the spinning wheel of death from Facebook. No answer from the live guest video. Bring you on, add. So Nicole, look on your screen somewhere. There should be a notification that's popping up that's saying adding. Now it's connecting. You're here. We did it.
We did it. We did it.
Okay, so for anybody who was watching, thank you for working with us here. Nicole, thank you so much for giving us your time today. I am so excited to be talking to you about everything that we'll be talking about today, because I think it's an important conversation, and you are such a you're such an expert in the field of prepping for brand photo shoots and just helping women with their visibility in general.
Sorry, not a professional at doing Facebook Lives on my phone though. So just let's all know that.
Oh, I love this. But again, like I was saying this earlier too, like I'm doing this specifically in the non-perfect way for peeps, so that you can all see that no matter who you are, I want you to give yourself permission to sometimes just, it's a little messy every now and then, and it's always pretty, but as long as you get it done, that's so much better than perfect. Okay, so Nicole, thank you so much again for being here today. I am so excited to ask you. So Nicole helped me. Nicole helped me.
Nicole needs help.
Nicole needs help with Facebook Lives, but she's really good at helping get ready for a for a book photo shoot. So Nicole helped me so much in prepping for that book cover. We had a session. Nicole not only helped me with my brand colors, but she immediately whipped up, okay, we're going to put you in white. Here's the vision that I have for it. This is what it needs to look like. And I have to tell you, that helped me then the day of the photo shoot too, to channel confidence and to just really show up and own it on the shoot, which you need to do, because that was obviously what I was trying to convey to people, is confidence, and I know what I'm talking about. So my first question to you is, like, what would your advice be to folks as they prepare for a book cover shoot?
I think one of the things about book covers is they're very different than other like branding photo shoots, but we don't have a lot of conversations with the nuance of the difference. First of all, I think it's really important to remember that a book cover photo shoot is one of the most important photo shoots you're ever going to do.
Yes.
More important than a social media shoot, because those things go away, those things change, but your book is an important part of your marketing that lasts forever, right? It outlasts you, and your career is going to change if you are good at what you do. And so striking the balance between the future that you don't really know yet and the trail that you've already blazed is a critical part of the shoot, which is why a lot of people don't think about it till the last minute.
Yep.
And it's an expensive thing to not think about, even if you're going through a publisher that's setting it up. Like, if those photos don't look good, it affects so many things, not just the cover of the book, but the marketing of the book. And in the future, if you're invited to conferences or you're on television or you're in radio interviews, those images from the book are going to be used, and people forget.
Yes. And actually, so I ran into that a little bit, because what happened with me is I ended up being in Florida for this photo shoot. And so I had to order everything down to a freaking bra, because I didn't have any of the usual, I took Florida clothes with me, like a bikini and,
Right.
like shorts and sandals. So I had to order everything. And it was also very last minute. I had to go with a photographer that I didn't know. And so really what helped me a lot there is having you in my back pocket, and knowing that we had discussed this shoot like a few months before. We had already
Right.
discussed it, and like what it would be like and what you would have to think about. And actually something that you just said there to me too is like, I didn't spend enough time thinking of poses. If I now look back at what I learned from this photo shoot, it's like really also think about the poses that you are going to want to do on this cover.
Well, I think so that's important, and it's important. A step that I missed was it's also really important to know what your book cover is going to look like before you do your photo shoot. So this is the number one mistake that I see people make throughout the years. And that is they don't have a sense of what the cover behind them will look
Yeah.
like, or if they're going to be on it, or they don't even know. They just set up a photo shoot and don't even think about whether they're even going to be on the cover of the book, which is a very different type of book
Definitely.
photo where you're on the back of the book, or you're in if it's a jacket, or you're on, the last page of the book. That's a headshot, but if you're going to be on the book, you need as many poses as possible so that you can be cut out of the image, basically photoshopped out of it and put against the background, which obviously impacts your outfit. And that's what people don't think about.
Yes, exactly. And so I think I had said like we are definitely going to have me against some other cover. And I wasn't that on about what color the cover would be behind me, but I knew that I wanted to pop out of it. And I think that's how you also helped me with like exactly what to wear. And then the photographer, because also the reason why you need to know all these things is because that will also decide what photographer you're going to get, right? So I specifically went for someone that knew what she was doing with headshots, because headshot people shoot different than lifestyle people. So I needed to I needed to know that this photographer, whom we're also going to meet in a little bit, she understood lighting. And so that was very important too. But yeah, definitely know whether you're going to be on the cover or off the cover. And then the next thing that I wanted to ask you is, what is the one thing that most people forget when planning their outfit for a brand photo shoot? So when we just move on to the what I'm wearing.
They forget that they're two-dimensional in a photo. And so what looks good in real life is not necessarily going to look good.
Oh my God, and I have a total, like that happened to me, because Nicole will know this. So I had this very cute jumpsuit that looked so cute on. It was wide legged. It was also wide. It had a V neck. It wasn't very fitting. And it looked super cute when I was walking around the apartment. And when we put that on a photo, it was like, it added like a lot of weight to me. It just made me look very heavy and clunky and not good at all. So yeah, definitely remember that.
And I don't say that to scare people. There are like actual things you can know you can do to test ahead of time. Like if you have more than one handful of fabric that you can pull away from the body, it's not going to look good. And I don't even care what your body shape is or what your body type is. It's just going to, add more mass because you can't see around the person in the image. No. So that's one. The other one is to always take photos, have someone else take a photo of you against a blank wall, in the clothes before you go to the shoot, so with time to get new clothes if you need to, because you can't take a selfie in a mirror and see. Like the angle will never be accurate to what somebody's straight on. is
Yeah.
shooting. And so, you know, those are the two big ones, but also just like, do not leave, as you learned. You're closed to the last minute, especially right now in a pandemic. And as we come out of a pandemic, shipping times are horrific.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, I had this problem with my shoot, like the clothes just didn't come in time. And I put 2.5 weeks in thinking like, that's fine. So you really need to plan and factor
And I
in
feel
time.
like also allowing yourself options. So, because that definitely helped too. I had like 4 options on the day. And that really helped because that also alleviated some of the pressure for me of like, oh my word, if this doesn't work. But that white outfit by far was the best thing. Now, if you girls want to know, because I said I was going to give you behind the scenes information, so here it comes. That outfit's been returned. At first, I thought I was going to totally keep it because I loved it. And then the day of the photo shoot, it turned out that it was one of those outfits that you had to keep pulling on so that it sits right on you. And I can't stand that when I have to keep fidgeting with my clothes because it makes you look insecure, right? When you're out and about, it makes you look like you're uncomfortable in your clothing. So unfortunately, I had to return the outfit, even though I was like, this is going to be the thing that I hold for when I go and do my speaking engagements. No, did not work. Okay.
Well, white is tricky, right? So you really, when it's white, like there's a lot of factors to think about. But white does really well in photos.
Yes.
So like,
yes. And also the other thing I know that you often say is like really making sure what kind of a pattern you're using if you're going to use a pattern, because that can really, you can tell them, I don't even understand.
Strong against patterns on book covers. You have to remember that when people are looking at that doesn't mean for an author photo is separate than a book cover photo. So I want to be really explicit here, but you have to remember that there's a lot of things competing for the eye's attention on a book cover, and the pattern on your shirt should not be one of them.
And also I think the thing with the pattern, and you were so wonderful at even pointing that out, because again, I wasn't even thinking about this, is you went with the white outfit for me because you were like, this thing is going to have to last for a long time. So we can't get too trendy. We can't get too, you kept it very classic and sleek with me. And that helps. That's something that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about. And I'm so glad that you mentioned it.
Well, I'm a psychopath when it comes to these things. There's like no nuance of it that I don't consider, because I know what a big deal it is for somebody to write.
Yeah, and actually, yes, and thank you, because you just reminded me, and this is another thing where I would go, for your own sanity and bandwidth, outsource this part, please. Don't you be the person that tried to figure out what you should be wearing and how, book help, go to someone, ask for help, hire a professional. Because let me tell you, I have decision fatigue at the moment, big time, because there are so many other decisions that I have to make. So the fact that Nicole told me the color and what to look for in an outfit helped so much. Like, I didn't have to go onto the internet and go, well, what color should this thing be?
Where do I start? Yeah, that's the hardest. Even when I have done big shoots or video shoots for myself, I have had help, because, and it's very simply why, I mean, this is my career, but I can't look at myself as objectively as I can look at somebody else. And that's important when you have a lot of decisions coming at you. And, I think it's just pretty natural that whenever anybody has a camera pointed at them, they second guess themselves, even people that are pretty used to it. Like, you're pretty used to being in front of a camera, but you've never been in front of the camera to write a book. And so, that's human. And I think that's the other reason why hiring somebody in this situation is helpful, because you're too close to yourself.
Exactly. Definitely. Okay. So what does it mean to align your personal brand with your wardrobe? I hear you say this a lot, and I think people sometimes are like, wait, what? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's a lot of like nonsense talk about like look good, feel good, like these hand wavy things. But actually what we're talking about right now is exactly what I mean when I talk, like thinking about how long these things are going to be around, thinking about the context, thinking about what, as we talked about in depth, like what your brand stands for now, where you want your brand to be in 5 years. If all of your dreams for this book came true, how would your brand change? These are the things that then impact the close. What were the adjectives that you wanted people to think of? What kind of an audience were you reaching? Were you just reaching women? Were you reaching men and women, which is what the ultimate decision was? That factored into the type of clothes I put on you, because those are real things. Those are real factors in our marketing. That's what it means to align with your personal brand. The clothes come last. And this is what people are very, they think the clothes are like the quick fix, and they're an important piece, but they're not strategic if these questions aren't asked. Then they're just a cute outfit, and that's fine, and that has its place in daily life, but that's not the same thing as having clothes that work for your brand. Yes. And if you don't know those things, then this process is very difficult.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Everything that you said just made so much sense. And I was even thinking about, this is also why you don't want to get friends necessarily to help you. People who are like, oh, that flatters you. You look good in that. Like, or don't always get your friends involved with this, because they don't understand your audience unless your friends are your target market. Like, I know there's some people in here that sell makeup. Like, by all means, listen to those folks, because they are your audience. But say for me, I have multiple 6-7 figure business owners. Nicole has like VPs and CEOs. Like, that's the people that she works with. We have to think about how those people, or how we are going to draw in those people and attract those people. And so therefore we'll have to dress for that. And so all of our audiences are different. So make sure that whenever you ask for advice, you either ask for an expert's advice or you ask your target audience, and think of your target audience in that way.
But more than that, when it comes to media, just because you're asking your target audience doesn't mean they're going to know that like that cute flowy kimono you're wearing at a conference is going to look absolutely horrible on camera. So I would even go, I have a stronger bent on that. But I think the other thing to remember is that asking people that only see you in one context what you should wear in a professional context, if that's not, like, I'm not going to ask my mom, who will see me in like my pajamas because I do not care, right? Like, she's the last person I should ask. Maybe that's true of your partner, right? Like, and I don't mean there's anything wrong or you're being not authentic. It just means that in the same way that you wouldn't speak on an interview about your profession, you wouldn't speak to your dad. Like that makes perfect sense, and it's appropriate. But because those people forget.
Yes, because we do sort of adjust ourselves a little bit for each facet of our lives. And also, when people are just used to seeing you as one thing, then they want to put you in that category. And friends and family tend to do that because they see a whole different side of you that, like, the public doesn't get to see, because of course we all put our best foot forward when we're with people that don't know us, right? No matter how much like the internet is like, you need to be real online, even that I feel like is not like 100% authentic. You're still aware that a camera is pointing at you.
The internet doesn't have the memory of you at 5,
this
right?
Is
like
also
there's also
true. Yes.
like, so like, that's important. And like most of people in our life don't understand marketing. They know that they're marketed to, but they don't know how to be the subject of the market. And so I think that's also the piece of it.
That's so important. All right. So you had some questions that you wanted to ask me.
I do. Okay. So what was the most unexpected lesson from writing this book?
So the most unexpected lesson was just how very sensitive I would have to be to not to be so, like, how do I say, to not be inappropriate with language, and to make sure that the language is inclusive, and that I don't use certain terms and sayings that are no longer allowed to be used because of the huge learning curve that we all went through last year. So that was definitely something that was a huge not my biggest lesson, but it was very interesting to write a book in the time that is happening right now, and to make sure that you are not part of the problem by continuing to use expressions that is completely condescending and hurtful and diminishing and all of that to people. So that was a huge thing. The other thing was is I had no idea how much work would go into the post production of the book. I thought the hard part would be writing the book, and it's so not the truth. Like, this post production piece is kicking my butt, like right, left, and center. Just because I am someone that wants to move fast, and I'm not necessarily the most detail oriented, like go into the very, very bottom of things. I like big picture, big vision. And I can tell you what the detail should be, but I don't want to be the one implementing the detail. And I've had to do a lot of that. So that's been my biggest lesson.
Wow, that first one's unexpected and such an example of like the time that we live in. A very specific lesson for right now. So that's really interesting. Okay. The next one is a little bit self. So I work with women who consider themselves a personal brand, whether that's an entrepreneur or a woman in leadership within a larger structure. And one of the things that they really struggle with is seeing themselves as a personal brand without feeling like it's growth. So I think about this a lot. How to make it more accessible to women to be a personal brand. So when you're thinking about, because you do this well, yourself as a personal brand, just something you really have to amp up when you write a book, what factors do you consider? What do you think about? And how do you get around the feeling of ickiness, if that's something that ever comes up? It might not, but if it does.
You know, I think this is such a good question, right? Because actually in the book, I talk about this as like how I started my first business. Not really seeing it as a brand or a business. So I kind of went through all of that in my first business, in also just even visibility and becoming okay with being visible. And I think the one thing is taking the light off of me and shining it onto who do I want to help. And that was some advice from Marie Forleo from way back in the day, of like, whenever you become a little self-absorbed and like, oh my God, what are people going to think about me? You're actually stealing from the people that you're trying to have impact on. So not making yourself the center of attention has really helped me to just like, okay, step out of this. Like, this isn't necessary for me to think about this. And then in terms of a brand, like, I am who I am, right? Like, yes, I'm a little bit more finessed when I'm in public, because I really swear like a trooper when I'm at home. But you know, like I my language isn't the cleanest that it can be. But I really am my brand. I know, like, and my sister-in-law is in this group. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, she's like, "You don't own like a hoodie," and I'm like, I own one now because someone gave me one, and it's a very comfy one and I love it, but I'm just not a hoodie person. So I don't buy like, it's just not who I am. So for me, it's really just an extension of who I already am, how I already dress. And I'm just amping it up a little bit when I'm in the public eye. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, that's why you do it really well, because a lot of people are like, I have to come up with this brand. It's like, not really. You just have to exactly what you said, like amplify what's already there. Okay, my last question is, if someone said, I'm thinking about writing a book, and they're a business owner. I think that's important. They're a business owner. But I'm not sure, like, what do you think? What would you tell them to consider?
Make sure, thank you, this is another good question. Make sure you know where that book fits into your business. What purpose is this book going to serve? So, for instance, I've had this idea to write a book for a long time, and I actually did write 15,000 words of a book like a while ago. But I never brought it into fruition because I could never really figure out where the hell is this book even gonna be in my brand. Da, da, da. So now, last year, I wanted to go and I wanted to start speaking. But a lot of like these entrepreneurial conferences don't pay you to go and speak. And I am very against working without getting paid. Like, I don't do free labor. My podcast is there for that. Like, my Instagram account, like, I give a lot of information away there, but I'm not going to go and stand in front of hundreds of people who paid a lot of money to be there, and I'm not like getting some compensation. So because of that, I was like, I'm going to need a book to be able to then, like, on the spot make some money while I'm standing there speaking to you. And then later on, as I thought about it, I was also like, okay, you know, this also now can become a lead magnet, because it does, like, the book is a business book, but it has a memoir flair. So I tell some really vulnerable stories in there of all the lessons that I've learned and that has gotten me to where I am now. And so that book is going to help with the know, like, and trust factor. So now I know when someone wants to come and work with me, because I have a long runway of conversion. People, like, it's very rare that someone calls me up and they're like, yes, I'll do it. They follow me for a while. They want 2 or 3 interviews with me to get to know me. So now this book can help and shorten that for them, because they can read the book and then come and find me. So that would be my advice to someone. It's like, really make,
that's right.
make.
It's so, people definitely are, I think writing a book is very glamorized.
It's not glamorous, let me tell you.
Well, but it's glamorous because it's like a big undertaking, and it should be glamorous, but it's also not something that's just going to like sell itself. And people misunderstand that. And so, yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, because I will tell you now, like, it's a full-time job just working on the promotion of the book, which is why I'm so grateful that all of the launch team people are here to help me to get the word of the book out, because there's no ways I could do it myself. And then we're not even talking about all the hours that we spend editing, and all the hours that I spend writing it, and all the hours that I spend like obsessing a little bit about, am I being okay here? Can I say this? Am I going to offend someone? And I mean, I'm not talking about, like, you know, telling the truth about something. I'm more talking about like the social nuances. And I had to think about it from 2 cultures. I had to go, is this going to be seen in South Africa as I'm being, you know, rude and inappropriate? Is this going to be in America rude and inappropriate? Right. So there was really a lot of like bandwidth. And so my thing to you would be is, like, before you do this, really know where it's going to fit into your business, because it is not like, let's write a book. It's not like that, unless you get a ghostwriter, then go for it.
Very different experience.
Yes. All right.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, well, thank you so much, Nicole, for coming and sharing. I mean, you always just have the most amazing tips. For the people who are watching, you have to go and follow her, specifically on Instagram. Nicole gives so many great nuggets of advice. And also, if you're currently wanting to amp up your visibility and you want to make sure that the stuff in your wardrobe is aligned with your brand and going to give you courage and confidence, then Nicole has got a really cool workshop that I want her to tell you about, because she's running that and it's currently open for enrollment. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Style Your Brand workshop, Nicole?
Sure. So the waitlist opens tomorrow. So if you want to and save $200, there's 3 people in it already. It's a small group program. Me and about 10 other women, and we go through a very specific week-by-week curriculum to think about your clothes of your brand, but also in a very like holistic way, so that you're not like responding and reacting to your style when opportunities come up. So it's 5 weeks, and there's lots of hand-on attention from me. That's why the group is small, and it's my favorite thing to do, but it won't be open again until next spring. So if you're interested, find me on Instagram or find me on Facebook, and I'm happy to send it.
Yes, and we will also send you the link. The link will be below this video when we hang up, so that you guys can go check that out. And then if you're listening on the podcast, you can click through to the show notes and you can find that there. Nicole, thank you again so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I just appreciate you as a friend and a fellow business owner and entrepreneur.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you next time. Bye.